my brother and I. We never knew which bed we was going to wake up in the next night.
At 3 years old, Mark Edwards was taken from his parents and placed into state care. The 16 years that followed brought Mark through a painful life of abuse, rejection, and heartbreak. Multiple attempts at suicide and a hatred for the world around him brought Mark to a place of desperation and fear. Mark was yearning for peace. After growing up, Mark met his wife Leslie, attended Bible college, and became an Anglican priest. But the pain from his past had only grown stronger. Mark's family life began to reflect the anger and bitterness that had tormented him all of his life.
And I was still kicking off at home, and I couldn't get rid of this anger. I couldn't get rid of this fear. I'd go into deep depressions, and yet I was still a Christian. Now, not just a Christian, I was a priest.
The division between the public Mark and the private Mark became more apparent.
My faith hadn't developed. I knew all about God. I'd studied theology, I knew the theology, I knew the words, but I didn't know him personally, I had no relationship with him. I recorded in my journals, Lord, unless you do something, I can't continue functioning as a priest, I'm living a lie. And I was flicking through the God channel, and I came across Ken Copeland. I didn't know who he was at the time. I just thought, oh, he's a typical brash American. But I thought, I'll listen to him a little bit. But anyway, I turned the set off and I couldn't get out of my mind. This fella I'd listened to, I thought, hold on a minute. I said, he was talking to me. Something he said is addressing my crisis of faith. Then I thought, well, who was he? I lay in bed all night thinking, who was that guy? So the next night, when the children left in bed, I went through the God channel, flicking, where is he, Lord? Where's this guy? I need you to get me this guy back on screen. And suddenly, here he was. And I discovered it was Ken Copeland. And you know, the more he spoke, the more I was just awestruck by what he was saying. I thought, I've been in theological college, I've been ordained for many years, and yet I've never heard this before. I've never heard faith comes by hearing, heard by the word of God. I've never heard that we have the authority to kick the devil out. I've never heard any of this stuff before. I thought, this is great. So I watched him for a whole week, and I just couldn't get him out of my mind, and I kept doing what he suggested, going to the scriptures and meditating on it, pondering them, thinking them over, and I thought, wow, there's something started happening on the inside of me. And I said to Leslie, I discovered this guy called Ken Copeland, and she kind of looked at me and said, oh yeah, kind of nodded her head.
I didn't immediately realise what an impact that was going to have on our lives. It was refreshing to come across something that actually seemed to provide the new life that we needed.
She said, I don't know what you plugged into this time, she said, but it seems to be doing you some good. I said, well, he's only telling me to get back into the scriptures and start taking God at his word. And what he's saying is making sense, that faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. And if I don't put the word of God in, no faith is going to come out. I started to fall in love with Jesus again. And I started going around telling God I loved him. My children came back from university in Christmas, and they said, what's happened to Dad? They said to their mother, Dad's different. So I had to explain to them that I've rediscovered God. And they said, yes, but you're a vicar. I said, yes. And they said, you're a priest? I said, yes. I said, but I've had a crisis of faith which I've been hiding for many years, and I've rediscovered God. I've been a Christian 22 years, but the last 2.5, almost 3 years on the Kenneth Copeland's ministry, hand on heart, has been the best 3 years of my entire 45 years of life. No amount of money in the world could take away what I've had experienced over the last 3 years. My marriage has been renewed, my relationships have been renewed, my ministry has been renewed. And for the first time in my life, I've been delivered from fear and insecurity and inferiority. And I listen to KCM teaching the broadcast daily. I plug in my MP3 player at night when I go to sleep. We even have it on the shower CD. So morning, noon and night, I'm listening to this teaching. There's tapes and CDs all around the house. In fact, I say what Ken says, if you believe it works, if you don't, it don't. Good night and God bless. But it's not my job to convince you. Faith works 100% of the time. And I am living proof of that.